It's the Brad and John Show.
Brad and John Show for Wednesday. Hump Day is Shelley Hump Day. That's the old Shelley throwback. For July 16th. And this is the B block, which means, you know what that means, John?
Ooh, it means my favorite jingle.
It's time for Brad's Top 3.
It is. It's time for Brad's Top 3. And we have to say it twice. Not three, but just twice.
It's time for Brad's Top 3.
And with that, we start off with...
It's number 3.
Number 3. John, you know what's interesting about this is, don't you find it fascinating when the Democrats shoot themselves in the foot?
Yeah, and then we jump around and we celebrate.
Joe Biden, and this came out the other day. This is something's been on my list, and now it moved into my top 3. Joe Biden came out and essentially admitted he has no idea who he pardoned. Have you read this story?
I did. Yeah, I saw a clip of this on Fox News yesterday, Brad.
And essentially what he said was, I approved of categories of pardons. Wasn't that what he said?
Yeah, and so this goes to the whole autopin idea too, right, Brad?
Exactly. See, the interesting thing about this is, this goes to prove that the people behind the scenes were really running the country. That would be like let's say John and Brad are out in the car, and John says, "Hey, Brad, let's go get something to eat. Where do you want to go?" And I say, "John, let's go someplace that has a drive-through." So then at that point, John says, "Well, that pretty much means I can go practically anywhere, right?"
Yeah.
So the point being is, he gives them categories to pick from, and I guess rapists, murderers, drug dealers, forgers, con artists, fraudulent, whatever the heck it is. And then
rappers,
he says,
don't forget
rappers, and he says, I gotta go back to the beach. You just pick out from those categories. Isn't that essentially what happened?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly what happened. I guess the question is, did this happen in any previous administration? So is this out of the ordinary? Now, I have a feeling that Barack Obama, let's say, would probably actually want to see the name of every person that he was pardoning just for, I don't know, conscientiousness sake. But I think Biden had no idea who he was pardoning.
Well, you made my point exactly. I don't think Obama. I think any right-thinking president. That would be like, you always have this thing like with the governor. You always have this thing like somebody's on. They're walking him down the hall to the execution chamber. At the Missouri State Penitentiary or wherever they execute him now. And all of a sudden, an attorney says, "We've got a last-minute appeal to the governor." The governor doesn't just say, let me think. Is that guy a rapist? Is he a murderer? Is he,
Right.
He's looking at the guy's name. He's looking at what he did. He's looking at there's probably, pardon the word dossier, but there's probably a big fat file on what this guy did. And, the fact that he was a horrible person and he shot his dog and he kicked his kids.
He's irredeemable.
Right. And the governor says, he's gone. Okay. I would think that, and I know because wasn't the thing that came out, they said, well, it was the largest number of pardons by any president. Wasn't that the story? Am I imagining that? Wasn't that what the story they said?
I don't remember that it was. I don't remember them saying it was the largest number, but I would just say that I'm certain there's just folks in there that have a tie to one congressman who has a good relationship with Biden's legislative director. So if you were in Oakland, California, and there was a triple murderer on death row, but you knew Maxine Waters in L.A., then Maxine would reach out to somebody that was close to Kamala, that was close to Biden, and said, hey, put this guy on the list of 435 people that were pardoning.
Well, 435 people. I think the list was like, I read something about the fact that they narrowed down the list from 3,000 to 1,500, but Biden didn't do that.
Yeah, well, of course not. Yeah, he has no idea what he's doing.
But he knew to pardon Fauci and his son. We had to pardon those people. But
they're important people, and they did nothing wrong.
Yeah, did nothing wrong. Okay, see, this just drives me nuts. This is to the point where, and you know what? You know what drives me the biggest nuts about this? Did that come out right?
What's that?
I don't know if that came out right or not. The biggest nut thing on this is the fact that our quote-unquote journalists, Peter Doocy was the only guy in the press corps who was pressing the administration. Well, I shouldn't say the only guy, but for the most part, the only guy. Everybody else was like, remember in the old days, John? Remember when you'd be behind that guy that had the '64 Chevy Impala, and he had that little dog in the back rear deck of his car, and the dog's head would go up and down, up and down, up and down. Remember that, John?
Wow. I don't know. I know a little bit about heads going up and down in the backseat of cars, but I don't think that's what you're getting at.
Well, see, maybe this predates you, but there used to be this thing you could buy at the store, and it was like a dog, and it had the dog's head was on like a swivel with a spring, and when you drive along, the dog's head would move up and down.
Oh, you put it in the back of your car like as a funny gimmick.
Yes, you put it on the rear.
I get it. Okay, yeah. So are you saying that Peter Doocy and is the old style of reporter that used to ask questions?
Yes, and the rest of the press corps, and this crap with Jake Tapper coming out. Well, I'm writing a book about how Biden really was asleep at the switch. Jake, you're the one that eviscerated Laura Trump on television and told everybody and cut her off during the interview. Matter of fact, I think I have that here. I think I pulled that about how she doesn't know what she's talking about because she's not a certified clinical psychologist. She can't make a judgment on the president. Remember that? And then he comes out with this book.
I do remember that.
And then he comes out with this book. Yes, the president was really incapable of making decisions. NSS. And John, what does that stand for?
No shoot, Sherlock. And Brad, I don't think I've told this story since we went on the air. We went on the air in November of 23. I don't think I've told the story since December. But real quick anecdote. I worked for only one brief period of time in Washington, D.C. I was a 19-year-old intern for a House committee. And one of my jobs was to go around and get signatures on letters. One of my many jobs to get signatures on letters about legislation. So in other words, to say, we support this bill because whatever. So I had to go around to members' offices and get them to sign stuff. I took one piece of legislation around, and I think it had between 30 and 40 signatures. One member of Congress actually signed the paper himself, because he happened to be available when I went to that office. And I'll never forget the conversation. I walked in and I found the secretary who took me to a legislative aide who took me to the legislator's office. And I got to stand by the door, couldn't see the member, but a staffer said to him, hey, just sign this, it's good. And he goes, hey, good. What am I signing? And the staffer said, sign it, it's good, just sign it. So the member signed it and gave it back to me. So out of like 35, 40 signatures. One member signed it, and the gentleman had no idea what he was signing.
Well, the rest of them were there. Did they stamp it, or how did they?
No, they had their secretary sign it.
Really?
So their secretary had memorized how to make a signature that looked just like the member of Congress.
Seriously?
Yeah. So I don't have that document anymore, but I would say there were 35 probably members, and there's somebody on staff. If it's not the main secretary or admin, it's somebody on the legislative team that knows the signature perfectly, and they just do a perfect signature of the member.
See,
and the members probably supported this legislation, but they had no idea that they quote unquote signed a letter supporting the bill that day. They don't care.
Okay, perfect example of why Trump is right. And I know people are going to go, oh my God, Brad says Trump's right.
You're such a Trumper, Brad.
I'm such a Trumper. When he says the swamp runs the government. I mean, isn't that really true, what you just said?
Well, I mean, I would say it's fair to say that members of staff generally have a better idea of what's going on than most members of Congress do, yeah.
Sad. Okay, number two.
It's time for Brad's number two.
Yes, and last night,
It's time for Brad's number two.
I made a late night trip to one of my local schnooks, and it wasn't the schnooks.
Oh, did you get ice cream, Brad?
No, I did not get ice cream. If I told you what I got, you wouldn't believe me. So I was listening to the replay of the Fresh Air, the Terry Gross program that runs between.
Oh, yes, Fresh Air.
Yes. And she talks like that. I'm Terry Gross. And it's funny because she has a deep voice and she's like 4'3", which is like, okay, that voice comes out of that body. So at first, I did not know who the guest was. Once again, I jump in the car, radio's on always. It's on NPR. I'm listening to it. And I hear this woman give the top 10 list. Here we're on the top 3. The top 10 list. And the top 10 list, and let me bring it up. Here, I will tell you what the top 10 list. You want me to go from number 10? Number 10, and this is the 10 reasons why we have an autocrat who's running the government, okay?
Okay.
This is the top 10 reason. Number 10, prevent new elections or ensure that they are meaningless through voter suppression, fear, or complicity. Number 9, encourage and incentivize private and state-sanctioned violence, potentially by deploying armed forces inappropriately and intimidating dissenters. Number 8, eliminate those who could help those targeted by the autocrat, such as suing law firms offering pro bono work. Number 7, go after the media to discredit the truth and create an echo chamber of propaganda calling lies truth. Number 6, and I had to screenshot these. Number 6, install loyalists whose allegiance is solely the executive, not the Constitution or the people of positions of power. And I'm sorry, this is like not in the best thing. I can't read it real well. Number 5, hold on a minute. I'm reading this off I'm screenshot this, so that's why, and it's on 2 different pages. Hold on. John,
Number 5, attack people who talk like an NPR voice.
Gut the government by firing experts, dismantling agencies, and breaking public trust. Number 4,
nice.
Neutralize or weaken the judiciary. Number 3, weaken and make legislative bodies complicit, threatening jobs for those who disagree. Number 2, expand executive power beyond its intended scope. And number 1, win an election, often the last genuinely free one you'll get. Okay, so I'm going, who is this woman who put up this top 10 list? You ready?
I'm ready.
Stacey Abrams.
Oh, talk about an elections integrity expert.
Right. Stacey Abrams, and this is the list is called 10 Steps to Autocracy. Now, yesterday she was on Fresh Air, not with Terry Gross, a stand-in host, but she's also been on the Late or whatever, the Jimmy Kimmel Show and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, but the interesting thing was the host, and I did not get the woman's name. There's usually Terry Gross, and there's a guy who usually fills in for her. I didn't recognize this woman's name. I didn't listen long enough to hear her identify herself. The woman asked her about the fact that Stacey Abrams had been fined for essentially her own complicity with rigging elections. Do you know this whole crazy story about with one of her organizations?
Yeah, we've talked about it on the air before, Brad.
Right, she got fined. Was it like $300,000 and something like that?
Yeah, money that she'll never pay back.
And she dances around by saying, well, that was an organization that was formed by me, but I was no longer a part of it. And I'm going like, okay, whatever. I mean, and here we go again. I hear John always, once again, John always criticized for me saying that kind of stuff. Okay, Stacey Abrams, she's lost twice for the governorship in Georgia, okay? She also was behind this bizarre, weird thing where one organization, 1 year, remember we talked about this, one organization, you looked at their balance sheet, they had $300 in funds in their bank account, and the next year they got $3 billion, and I'm pretty sure it's either $2 or $3 billion for money to go around to Georgia and rip out those nasty gas appliances. Remember this crazy story?
Yeah, we can't have those, Brad.
Right. Rip out those nasty gas appliances and putting electric appliances. But of course, once again, like in the state of Missouri, most of the electricity comes from coal, or at least a good portion of it. So we tear out these hydrocarbon-fueled gas appliances and replace them with coal-burning appliances, which might as well be. And she is so full of, what? I'm thinking the point, I can't, and you know what? She is an eloquent speaker, but it's like, John, ask me a question or anything, and I'll give you a Stacey Abrams answer.
Should Ameren replace Rush Island with natural gas?
Well, John, I'm glad you asked that question. And, the interesting part of that is, if you go back to the history of the Cardinals, way back when they didn't have lights as we know them. They had candles. And if you've ever heard the term candle power, that's where that came from. And in order to run a baseball game, you had to have at least 4 million candle power. But the problem was, at that point in time, we didn't have enough infrastructure to generate 4 million candles. So instead, all the games were played during the day, except for the Cubs, who people would chew gum in the stands, and they'd generate enough static electricity to generate enough light where the Cubs could play at night. How's that for a Stacey Abrams
That's
answer?
very Abrams. The real question is, who actually wrote this for her? Like, do you actually think that she has the brain power to write that?
Okay, one other thing. Okay, and I know I'm running along here. I have to say this. she goes in and she praises her mother, how her mother had these master's degrees. And she talked about the fact that her parents moved from Mississippi to Georgia. And John, you know why they moved from Mississippi to Georgia? Because
Well, it couldn't be Donald Trump. Was it racism?
both of her parents at 40 years old had the calling to become ministers. And they moved.
Oh, did they start their own nonprofit?
No, they moved to Georgia because they both attended, I think, Emory University. Is that in Georgia?
Oh, yeah, it's in Atlanta, yeah.
Right. And they moved to Emory and to get their master's degree in divinity. And her mother was a very smart woman, but her father was a guy who worked with his hands, heaven to Betsy, and was like some kind of a carpenter or something like that. And he didn't read very well, and he really struggled with his master's degree. I'm going like, okay, Miss Abrams, is this a shot across the bow of women are smart and men are dumb? You know what I mean? It's like I'm so and she skirted the issues of toxic masculinity. A couple things she says, well, my father, because he worked with his hands, didn't understand certain things. I'm going, okay, here we go.
And
again.
here's the sad thing about her dad. Not only was he dumb, according to her, because he's a man, but also, Brad, he went because he was a minister. He started a radio station, and it was called KFU Woe Is Me.
John, I will just say this right now. I went to college. I have 2 degrees. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree. I went back to college twice to get another bachelor's degree in meteorology. Didn't finish. At one point in time, I don't know if I told you this or not, I took the LSAT, not once, but twice.
You did tell us that.
And I applied
Brad.
to law schools, and I was laughed out of because of the fact of my age. Okay? I would much rather be around a bunch of, and most of these guys are super intelligent, electricians, carpenters, plumbers,
HVAC guys.
HVAC techs, than a bunch of pointy-headed, stupid, jerkazoid, professors who work at UMSL and Mizzou and, just like...
You sound like a guy that would cut NPR funding, Brad.
Cut NPR funding. Don't get me going on that. And I looked.
Do we have time for story number 1, Brad?
We got to squeeze it in, okay?
And now, Big Finish, Brad's number.
Okay, this guy's been in the news lately. Do you know who James Gunn is? James Gunn Jr. Do you know who he is?
Yeah, where have I seen this name, Brad?
James Gunn is the director of the new Superman movie. This is Superman version 46.8 or something like that, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, the reason I bring this up is for 2 reasons. Do you know where he was born?
St. Louis, Missouri.
Yes, and you know where he's got an undergraduate degree from, guess where?
Is it Mizzou?
Well, he's got SLU. He's got a BA from St. Louis
I wonder
University.
if there's a famous Gunn family in Missouri politics. Kevin Gunn, Amy Gunn. I wonder if he's related to the Gunns. They live in Webster Groves, I think.
I don't. Here, I'm trying to look real quick. He's co-chairman.
But anyway, what about him, Brad?
Okay. They hired Gunn, and in 2022, Warner Brothers Discovery hired Gunn and his longtime producer, Peter Safran, to become co-chairman and co-CEOs of DC Studios. Under DC Studios, Gunn co-produced and executive produced every film and television series under the DC universe. Okay. He has come out and said that, are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Superman is an illegal immigrant.
Oh, I've seen something about this, Brad. Yeah. And so this is the new woke narrative of his
Yes.
background, right?
Superman is an illegal immigrant. Okay, I'm not the biggest comic book guy, but wasn't it the reason that Superman came to the planet Earth is because his planet exploded and he had to leave? Wasn't that the case?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not a Superman guy either, but I think it's something like that. Yeah.
Why is it do we have to have why? And first off, why do we have to have 42,000 versions of Spider-Man and Captain
No
America
idea. I don't
and
to make money.
Superman and it's like to the point where it's like, can anybody come up with some new ideas? Can anybody in Hollywood come up with, hey, let's come up with a new idea for a movie? You mean it's not?
There is a brand new superhero. He's based in Augusta and Florida, and his name is Hoffman.
Hoffman.
And he has his own runways. He has his own wineries. Brad would say he takes good things and he turns them bad.
Well, no. He's reinvented golf by building 12-hole golf courses. That's what he's done.
And when he wants to get profit out of it, he calls it Oberweising, and then he just milks it for the money.
Oh, he milks it or melks it?
He milks it. He MELKs it, Brad. And you can read about that new movie called Hoffman Returns. It's in the Washington Missourian. Coming in 2026, it'll be all Hoffman all the time.
So James Gunn essentially said that Superman is an illegal immigrant, and we should feel sorry for him because he has to come here and he's not accepted by the people. Okay, John, let me ask you a question. I'm going to ask you a question. If you lined up, and let's put it in John's wheelhouse of women between the ages of 25 and 40 who are John would
18 and 40. Yep.
John who would stipulate that they had to be ovulating, correct? Wasn't that John's stipulation?
Correct. Yeah, that's a key part.
Okay,
yeah.
if you lined up 100 women and you said to them, "Hey, we've got a guy that we would think you would like to date. Let me tell you who he is. He's Superman." How many of those 100 women would say, "Oh, no way," or would say, "Oh my God, I get to date Superman"? John, what would the score be?
It would be 100-0.
Right. So why is it that Superman is being treated like he's like some virus or it's like COVID because he's an illegal immigrant? He's the idol of every woman in the world, right, John?
Because we have to make it a woke narrative, Brad. We have to retrofit some woke narrative onto something that people like. That way we can make a statement about Donald Trump and political tolerance and authoritarianism.
I'm so tired of this. It's to the point where, and then this is on NPR. And of course, God, John, I just can't say anymore. Hold it. I got my blood pressure monitor, 240.
Yeah, let's see what it is. It's a little too, I'm looking at the reading and it says K283CI. I don't know what that means, though.
We have to take a break.